Okay, so I've been playing a lot of Utah recently, and I wanted to talk about Utah versus Teno 1v1. I haven't seen a lot of videos on Utah's solo capacity against the main herbivores in the game. So I have my buddy Skinney here. He is probably the best Teno player I have ever played against in the Isle of Evrima. So he's going to be my assistant here. We're gonna kind of go through the matchup, the mechanics, and how you want to play against a Tenontosaurus. Hopefully I can actually do something with the Stego later on, but for now we'll do it with the Teno. So first thing when fighting a Teno, when it comes to how a Teno is going to kill you, a stunned Utah is a dead Utah for a good Teno. To make an example of that, I'm going to try to pounce Skinney from behind, and I'm going to basically show with my own Utah what happens when a good Utah and a good Tenonto clash. So I'm going to instant stun, instant next shot, and you kill me right there. Easy, easy, easy. 4 calls. Easy, easy, easy. It didn't take a lot of stamina out of him to do that, and he could do it as many times as he wants to. So, when fighting a Tenontosaurus, the last thing that you want to have happen is you are stunned. So let me eat this real quick. I'm gonna edit these parts out of the video, so it's all good.
Are you sure about?
So right there, you saw what happens when you get stunned by a Tenonto. You get absolutely whooped and wrecked in a matter of seconds. So the question becomes, how do I fight a Tenonto without getting stunned? This is the key. You want to be in the front of the Tenonto. The less time you spend back here, especially where this little notch in his tail is, this notch is a massive danger zone for a good Tenonto player. The more time you spend up here, the better chance you're going to have at winning the 1v1. Now the problem is, a lot of Tenos don't do this, but a good Tenonto knows that they can chainsaw with claw attacks to do massive damage. So I'm going to have Skinney do a chainsaw attack right now. So you can see right there how quickly he can chain those claws. Very little time between animations. So Tenonto is a very well-rounded dinosaur. We can't be in the back because if we're stunned we die. We want to be in the front, but you can see he can chain those attacks super easily. So how are we actually going to fight this thing? The main mechanic when fighting a Tenontosaurus is you're going to want to try to bait out as much of his stamina as possible. So I'm going to have my friend Skinney play like an average Tenonto for a second and show you the main strategy when baiting out a Tenonto is just coming in, moving around, and eating this over and over, and they are going to use up a ton of stam doing moves like this. A really important thing when you are moving around and trying to bait out attacks is not sliding. I see a lot of Utahs do this and it gets them killed all the time. They run in on the Teno, and instead of turning around and rolling, they will go straight into the Teno and turn back. Now you see that slide? That 1 second slide is more than enough time. I'm gonna have my friend Skinney play normally now. That 1 second slide is more than enough time for him to take advantage of you. I turn here and slide, boom, instant hit. I come in, turn backwards, another hit. I try to come in from behind and bait an attack, and I don't roll, another hit, I'm stunned on the ground, easy. So always roll into your baits. You see how I don't instantly turn around, but I roll? I kind of make a U shape. This is going to keep you from having that 1 second delay that could get you right in the face of a Tenontosaurus. So you've got the main mechanics down. You know how you want to play against a Tenonto, so how many bites is it going to take to kill a Tenonto. The amount of bites it's going to take on the tip of the tail is not really going to concern you, because tip of the tail bites do next to no damage at all. You also don't want to be farming too many headshot bites because, like you saw with that chainsaw, just how quickly he can attack if he just uses those claws. So Skinney, you want to do those claws right quick? Very fast, very little animation downtime, not a lot of opportunity for you to get in there. So when you fight the Tenonto, I'd say 2 headshots is probably the max you want to get. Any more than 2 and you don't really need it. 2 headshots, I found about 5 body shots, and however many tail shots you can get with a half pounce are going to be enough to bleed out a Tenontosaurus most of the time. You're not going to kill it straight up, but with that amount of damage, you are going to put enough pressure that the Tenonto is probably going to bleed out if it doesn't wall up. Now let's talk about the pounce mechanic. An average Tenontosaurus is going to be very easy to pounce, so I'm going to have my friend Skinney play like an average Tenonto. You come up, you pounce him, and he's just going to run around. He's not really going to do anything special. You're going to get off of him, dismount, and you'll be able to run away very easily. Easy peasy. Now, if we have him Skinney play normally, and I pounce him, I'll show you the problem with pouncing a good Teno player. He bucks, I'm wanting to dismount here, I dismount, and he's instantly attacking with 0 downtime at all. Unlike Stegosaurus, which is locked in its buck for about 9 seconds, if I pounce him right now, he's instantly out of that pounce and instantly slapping with that tail. And like we said, if you get stunned as a Utah, you are 100% dead. So I cannot stress this enough. It is going to be a lot more difficult to bite force a Tenonto, but it is going to be a lot safer than pouncing it a bunch of times, especially considering your stamina is going to drop. So I would say save your pounce for when you have a nice amount of bites on the Teno. You probably want to pounce it when you are trying to wrap up the kill, not to start off the engagement. So I'm going to have me and Skinney go through a little bit of a skirmish and show you a bit of these tips in action. I'm going to have him play average for the first interaction, and then I'm going to show you just how difficult it is to play when he plays normally. So we'll get started on the fight. Coming in, baiting attacks, rolling. Getting bites in the tail when he can. He actually gets a kick there, but you see how long that stun lasts on the Tenontosaurus, which is why you never want to be in this zone right here. Let me actually show you just how far back it is. So even if I'm right here at the tip of the tail, if he does a tail slam on me, heavy attack, it stuns you from all the way back there, and it's doing a pretty nice amount of damage. It doesn't matter if you're here, it doesn't matter if you're here, it doesn't matter if you're here. That stun is going to last you a very long time. 1, 2, 3, a full 4-second stun. So you see there, that wasn't even Skinney playing at his best, and he was able to kick me, and he could have easily finished me off there. So let's try it again. Trying to go in, hopefully to bait some attacks. He's doing the kick. The more stamina you get wasted, the better. Staying clear of that tail as much as possible, being close enough to pressure, but not so close that you can be stunned. And all you're doing is repeating this little loop that we repeat over and over again as much as possible, trying to wear down that Teno and get as many bites as you can. Steering clear of that tail for the majority of the fight without getting bumped, right? So at this point, he's probably low on stamina. Skinney, what are you about, like maybe 50, 30% stam? 0 stam. So you see an average Teno player is going to spam those attacks, and their stamina is going to drop very quickly, and because he has no stam, I'm able to get behind him, and I have a lot more leeway to do these run-throughs and to roll through these attacks. Now let's have Skinney play normally, and I'll show you just how difficult it is when a Tenontosaurus is actually playing correctly. Now, one thing I want to point out here, you see how he's not running, but at this point he's Z-walking? This is a massive thing that can tell you the skill level of any herbivore, but especially a Tenontosaurus. By Z-walking, number one, the more bleed I put on him, it's going to do less and less damage because he's not aggravating it by running. Number two, the stamina is massive for the Tenontosaurus. So the fact that he's Z-walking means he's going to regain his stamina a lot quicker. So that's already a really big thing that can tell you how good the Tenontosaurus you're playing is. So you see here, he's not tail slamming when he doesn't have to. He's using his front claw attacks. He's facing me. He's not spamming. I'm rolling into him and he's not unnecessarily using his stamina. So it's a lot more difficult for me to try to get behind him. The best thing you can do with a good Tenonto player like this, instead of going in and staying close to the back, you're going to want to play a more psychological game, trying to fake out directions. So you might want to run to the left and then you fake to the right side and get a bite in on the back. You see there, I take a hit. Go to the left, maybe fake to the right, get a bite. Maybe go right this time, roll around, try to get a bite in on the outside. But you see there, these claw attacks are doing massive amounts of damage. He doesn't need to spam in and waste his stamina because he knows how to use those claw attacks to their maximum potential. And you see, he still has plenty of stamina. He hasn't used an attack once, a heavy attack once, because he knows he's not going to waste it if it's not going to land. If I get careless and I start rushing behind him to his tail, making attacks like this, I'm going to get kicked. I'm going to be punished for that. Skinney lets out a 1 call there. You just repeat this over and over again, trying to stay behind them, not being too close to this section, and you should be okay. Now another thing I want to say is, a Tenontosaurus can actually chase you down for a little bit and get bites on your tail. They don't do a ton of damage, but the damage will add up if you're in a long engagement. So if I'm right here, and this is already way too close, but I'm going to demonstrate just how much respect you have to give to the Tenos speed. If I'm right here, and he starts charging me, and I start trying to run away, he's still going to land bites on my tail for a good... He might get a good 2 or 3 bites in at the time it takes for me to run. You see, I'm not that much faster than him that I can be in his face. So if we reset again, and I'm over here, way too close, he can get a bite on my tail, I can shift, I can do all these things, and he's still gonna land bites on me, because he's not that much slower. So when you're gonna fight a Tenontosaurus, the range you're gonna want to be at is probably around here. Is that right, Skinney? This is a good range? You definitely need to respect the speed. So you see, if he charges me now, and I run in a straight line, I can actually steer clear of those bites. And at that point, he's using stamina to chase you down. Now, Skinney would not usually use stamina like this to chase you down. But a bad Tenontosaurus is probably going to chase you down and try to get those bites on you. And you can just keep going, waste his stamina, and he's not going to hit you. If you're too close, Utah has a wind-up time on his sprint, and in those couple seconds, you're going to get hit by the Tenontosaurus. So this is the basics for the Utah side of Teno versus Utah. Just making sure that you're only pouncing near the end, maybe 2 bites on the head, 5 bites on the body, and a couple bites on the tail. This notch is your no-go. You do not want to come here until his stamina is wasted. Making sure that you roll into your attacks instead of instantly turning around, and respecting the Tenos speed by keeping a good distance. And this is the best way I've found to 1v1 most Tenos. So I'm going to switch it over to my friend Skinney, and I'm going to have him show you, or explain the Teno side, how a Teno is going to take out a solo Utah.
Okay, well, first thing you want to do when fighting Utah is never, and I mean never, ever start the battle with running. You want to conserve your stamina and don't move a whole lot. You want to try and pressure the Utah to really want to come in close to you so you can nick it with those claws. Because those claws, you do decent damage and you deal bleed. And if you put bleed on the Utah at the same time it's putting bleed to you, you have more health and you can tank more hits than the Utah can. in 3 claw attacks, you can mess a Utah up pretty bad. That is going to have to either quit the engagement or run off to try and heal first.
So you see there, those 3 claw attacks already put me at below half health, and my blood is dropping. So the Teno can really box you down.
Yes, they can. They are very dangerous. I told myself when Evrima launched this would be the only thing I played, and I've unlocked almost every secret. Now, another thing is, you can do this as well, but it's a bit difficult to pull off on Utahs. It's easier to pull off on Carnos. Is the spin kick. You've probably seen this in Mr. D-Bear's tutorial, and it does work, but only with Carnos. Utahs are a lot more tricky because their hitboxes are smaller. Like, see, he was a lot smaller, so the kick didn't quite register, it went over him. Now right here, if I just do a kick, yeah, he goes flying, and he's stuck in stun, which sets him up for another tail slam or a claw attack, depending on what you want to do. In the end, it all just depends.
Now, if a Utah passes you, how are you gonna try to counter that as a Tenos?
I'm different from most players. I know a lot of players know about the run to a tree and see if that can rip the Utah off, but my strategy is a little different. I let them land that pounce, and I just spin in a circle while bucking. And my trick is, because there's a gap in between bucks, is I wait for the Utah to come off, and when it does, I flip and bam.
Easy peasy.
But so, for example, a Utah pounces you. Now, a Utah who knows somewhat what it's doing, they're going to try and hop off after they put that little bit of damage into you. But here's how I counter that. I'll buck and wait for him to pop off. Okay. But you know, the strat is whenever you're turning like that, the second he hops off, you'll flip your rear towards him and put out an AoE attack. Now, it doesn't always hit. It's not always successful, but it does work from time to time.
You see there, it actually hit me and did damage.
Yes, but because I hit him on the end of the tail, it didn't do a whole lot of damage. The way the AoEs work is you really want to hit them in the body or the head. Anywhere else is just kind of pointless. You see, he was out of range that time, so it didn't hit him. The Tenos hitboxes are very, very funky. It's like, okay, for the kick, he should be out of range right here. Okay, no, never mind.
Are you sure?
Okay.
You use the bottom bump in the Tenos tail to determine the range of your kick, because it is very short. So really, you really just save the kicks for Carnos unless a Utah is running straight up your rear end and you're just like, okay, take this. Oh, I looked behind me that time. But still. They both stun, so it doesn't really matter in the end. The only difference between the kick and the tail slam is 2 things. Tail slam has longer range, and kick has bleed. So it's like, from here,
No way.
I slap, he goes down.
No
And then if I wanted to, if I had turned around and ran over, I could have started clawing him, and boom, he would have been down for the count. Because you got to keep in mind that watch the Utahs when you make them go down, because if they will slide sometimes. See, like how he went further back, but he's still in range. So if I hit him with a tail slam, that's gonna hurt, and I could hit him with another and he'd die. Again, it really all depends on the circumstances. It's not English. It all depends on the circumstances. With Tenato, you got to keep a very sharp eye on your surroundings and what your enemy does. Like, so for example, if I hit him with a tail slam and he slides out of range, I'm not going to tail slam again. I'm going to turn around, run over, and start with the chainsaw.
Now that's a lot of damage!
Because if you do that, you can shut them down real quick before they have time to react. And it wastes less of your stamina, especially when doing pack fights. Now, bucking is a really funky mechanic right now. It is getting buffed in Update 3. Heck, Update 3 might pop out by the time this video comes out, who knows? But let's be honest, it's not coming for another 8 years!
Let's be honest.
Right now, bucking roughly drains a Utah stam by roughly double the amount, almost triple. So like here, Berserk, you just pounce, and if you see his stam drain, it's pretty average for a pounce. It drains fast, but not a whole lot. Now, if I start bucking when he pounces me, keep an eye on his stam bar. See? It really drains it. So basically, if there are no trees around and you've got a Utah latched onto you, don't be afraid to just press E and you'll start flailing around like a crazy animal.
So let's show you just how easy it is for a good Tenonto to take out an average Utah. And this is why it's so important that you pay attention to the little things in the Tenonto you're fighting. So like I said, this Z-walk is one of the easiest things I can look at to tell whether it's a good Tenonto or not. But if you're just running in, not respecting the Tenonto's speed, being way too close, he's gonna get those little nibbles off on your tail. If you start running in on his back, trying to get bites on the back, you're gonna catch bites to the back, you're gonna catch a kick, and just like that, you're dead. Easy, easy peasy, you got no bites in. If I try this again, and this time I go for a more pounce approach, and I just run out of the jump, just like that, I'm at half stamina. I already have to dismount. I took 2 hits from the tail. Since he's so much bigger than me, he doesn't need nearly as many bites to take me out here. I can try to wrap around and get bites on the tail. There's a chance they will register. I'm catching more bites from the claw. And I'm bleeding much more than he's bleeding right now. At this point, there's nothing you can do. Because you're so much smaller, you're going to want to run and try to find somewhere to wallow in the mud. But a good Tenonto player is not just going to let you sit here and wallow in the mud. And you see there, he didn't even need to claw me. He could just bite me to death.
And I'm not even that hurt. I'm only missing the top veins of the heart.
So to show an example of that, I'm going to show you just how wide the AoE on that tail slam is. If I get behind Skinney here, and I try to jump over him and land a pounce, well first I'm going to try to just jump into him and land a pounce. If you run behind him and just pounce, even if you hit the pounce, the stun is going to take you off. And right there, he can take me out, no problem. Easy peasy. Easy peasy. Now if I try this again, and this time I try to jump over the tail, you would think that, you know, maybe I could jump over the hitbox of the tail and land on his back or something like that. So if I come behind him and I try to jump over the tail, just to show you how, and this is why I don't like pouncing much, if ever. This is just how risky a pounce is against a good Teno. I can jump over him and pounce, and I still get hit by that tail slam. Easy, easy.
And just
easy,
like that,
easy.
your claw is gone.
Easy, easy, easy.
It's like,
easy.
fight's over, wrap it up, the Carnos get free KFC.
Basically. But I appreciate Skinney helping me out with this. I'll try to get a video on Stego later on. But, you know, just pay attention to the little things when you fight a Tenonto player. Try to measure out their skill level and proceed accordingly. Respect their speed. Have a good amount of distance. Understand that you are weaker. It's going to take less bites to bleed you out. It's going to take less claw attacks to bleed you out. This side back here is a huge danger zone. Always try to drain the stamina first, and if you're under this hunch, you're pretty much dead. So take these tips, try to use them as much as you can, and I hope it helps you out. So, yeah, I'll get some clips of some other Tenontos, and I'll run them through it toward the end of this video. But that's it. Thank you guys for
Go to horny jail.
I get ponked to death.
Go to horny jail.